Hey guys, how's it going? Gonna do a quick recap for you today, go over some technical analysis, go over some triggers that we got today, and hopefully you can learn a few things in regards to how we trade over here. We're gonna lay it all on the table, show you how to draw support and resistance, show you some bullish indicators, and go through the trades that we took. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video. I'm going to shrink this down. All right, so the first trade that we got today that I want to go over is IMPP. So let's go ahead, shrink this down, and let's pull that up. All right, so let me go ahead and clear this off. So if you watched the video that we made yesterday, you'll notice that when we were talking about yesterday, we had our support and resistance drawn, our levels here. And if you don't know how to draw the support and resistance lines, if you go back and look at our previous videos, it'll tell you how we do that. But anyway, yesterday we got a long signal on IMPP right here. And what I was saying before is that if we cracked these two levels and went below them, I was thinking that we could probably the next support level isn't until 147. Okay, so yesterday we were talking about this stock, and we were talking about the fact that if it stays above this level, these levels here, which it did, it held us support yesterday and then broke out, that it could have a possibility of testing the 340s. Okay, and what I mentioned also yesterday is if we cracked these levels here, because this was going to be our risk level, that the potential is that it could go down to the 140s. So we talked about that yesterday, and so we went and left the levels that, so we'll go back actually, and then we'll come into today. So coming into today, the only levels that we had drawn were, let's go back into it. So right here. So this is what we looked like coming into the day. And the levels that we had coming into today were yesterday's close, yesterday's open, yesterday's low, and then the day before that, closing price, and the day before that, opening price. And then we also had the high of yesterday at 282. Okay. So these are the levels that we had marked down, marked in pre-market. So as you can see, we can see that throughout the most of the day yesterday, it was holding underneath volume weighted average price indicator, which means it's probably going to be bearish. And we opened up, created the pre-market highs here, and then we immediately flushed and lost these two lines here, these two levels here, which was the opening price and closing price of yesterday. So we lost those lines, and once we lost those lines, it went right down to yesterday's low and bounced, which is what we typically see, because when a level breaks, where the stock price usually goes is to the next level. Okay, so when these levels broke, it went right down to that level. Okay, so that's how we run this strategy. That's how things, support and resistance usually works. Once a level breaks, it usually heads to the next level. So that's how we create our thesis, and that's how we create our plan around in trading, is anticipating next levels to be hit. So we bounced here, and it came back and tested the prior support level here at resistance. Now it's acting as resistance, because once a level breaks to the downside, that support level breaks to the downside, it usually becomes resistance at that point. So you can see here the stock came up, and this previous support level held as resistance. Now, our thesis coming into the day was basically, the reason why we're looking at the short is because now that we have our levels plotted, we can see that if we broke down past these two here, the next level wouldn't be until back down to the 140s. And that's the low of 225. And so the thesis was that if we broke these two levels here on a non-extended move, that we would potentially go down and test the 150 area. okay? And that's why we were looking at this stock today as a short, because the risk, because this area of reward is pretty big. You can see how much space there is here between these levels. And if we broke 210, then we would probably go into 150. So as the stock's looking bearish, we're creating lower highs. We're underneath VWAP. We're not extended from the EMAs because the stock, it looked like this at the time. Let me go ahead and... So here's what we looked like at the time. So the hourly chart wasn't extended. You can see here there's the 9 EMA. You can go back and refer to our extension video, and that shows us how to gauge if a stock is extended or not. And so as you can see here, the stock is still touching the hourly 9 EMA. The stock is still right near the 15-minute 9 EMA. And that just tells us that when the stock is close to those EMAs, it means the stock is pretty much rested. It's not extended. So as you can see here, extended means that it starts to pull away from those EMAs. And you can see here on the hourly how it started pulling away. That means it's extended to the downside. But right here, when we were looking at the pre-market action, it wasn't extended. Matter of fact, it looked like a pretty bearish looking hourly too, because we made it move down and then we got chopped around, consolidated for a little bit. So anyway, the thesis was that if we broke 210, we wanted to get short, and we wanted to have our targets down into the 150s. Now, we wanted to have a good risk to reward that made sense to take that trade. Now, we didn't want to be risking all the way up here at 280 because that would, that means that we're risking, 50 cents to make 50 cents. So that doesn't make sense at all. So risk reward wise, that doesn't make sense. So anyway, coming into the day, we saw, took note that the fact that the daily was a bit extended, not super extended, but it could use a pullback. And it wasn't extended on intraday basis because the hourly was good, the 15 was good, the 5 was good. And we're seeing bearish confirmation because it's holding underneath VWAP. It's holding underneath all the 9 EMAs on the 5, 15, and the hourly. And the risk reward made sense because this is the amount of reward that we have potential to make. So let's see what happens. We can go ahead and see. It came down here pre-market, tested that 211 area, and we were hoping it wouldn't break then, and luckily it didn't. As a matter of fact, it even made it better for us because now this risk reward is even tighter, getting tighter. So the plan was to basically short 210s, and it was we're going to be risking about 15 cents to 225's high day. And that's exactly what we did. And you can see that once we broke those levels, we immediately went down to our target pretty instantly. And that was the start of our morning. And talk about a great start to the morning on the short side, considering we haven't taken a short in a while. That was pretty cool to see that. We just had immediate follow through right on down. And let me go ahead and show you. Let me go ahead and pull up my charts here. And you can see exactly what we did. I actually grabbed it short. Now, SSR was on. So it was kind of hard to get involved. You had to be on the ask to get involved in this one. But you can see here, I kind of got spooked out on my first entry and covered up because I didn't like that. I was expecting it for just break the levels because we had levels at 210. So once we bounced off 210, I kind of got spooked out. You can see, so yeah, once we bounced off 210, it kind of freaked me out because that was a pretty big bounce. And so I just covered up. But once we slammed back down and we got another more confirmation that the stock is still looking bearish, then I got back involved. And you can see here where we shorted and where we started covering up. And we made sure that we kept, we waited a while on this one. This one was a really nice reward trade because there's no reason to cover up really until our targets are hit. We saw the big gap in price in between support and resistance. We knew that this thing could definitely go down to the 150s. So we were pretty patient with it. Our best cover was like in the 170s. You can see there. And we were risking about 15 cents or so. So yeah, we made sure to wait till we cover up correctly. We got in at 210 and we didn't cover until 180, which was 30 cents. So that's 2R. So basically we our first cover was 2R, and we kind of just started covering on the way down after that. I think the average on this one was about a 2.5R trade, considering all these covers here. So that was a great trade there. And so that trade worked out great. You can see here how it came down to this level here and basically kind of just chopped around on that level there the whole day. It tried to break down below it, but it couldn't do it. The next support level would have been the low of day of the 25th. And you can see there that it bounced off and didn't really go much further. Below that we have the low of the 24th and then closing price. So there's a bunch of levels below, so there's no point in staying involved because it's going to chop around probably in these levels. So this was the big window that we were trying to play for, and we got a good trade on that. And so that's how we traded our short on IMPP to start the morning, and that was a great little trade to start the day. So let's go ahead and look at another stock that we liked, that we took, and that's going to be what was that? CYRN, I think is what it is. Yeah, CYRN. And that was a really good one too. So let's go over that one real quick. Okay, so it's basically, look at that daily. It's like a perfect little flag, pretty much. So heading into the day, here's what we were looking at. We weren't, look at that hourly pattern there. It's pretty cool. So let's see. So this is what we saw. This is what I'm going to pull this up, and this is the levels that we had marked for the day. So we had the closing price of yesterday. We had the opening price yesterday, opening low of yesterday, opening high of yesterday, and then the high of the 25th plotted out. So here's the levels that we had. We can also just plot those, and then we can also plot this level back here. So looking at this chart on the 5-minute here, you can see that there's levels all over the place. So there's no real place to get involved that the risk reward made sense because the lines were so close together. But you can see that through this 598 level, which was yesterday's high, there's no resistance until the 694s, which was the high of the 25th. So basically, we were looking at a potential break of high day at the time to break us into this 98 level and then hopefully fill this window here up into the 7 area, 690s. So this is a stock that we had on watch because of the opportunity of reward here. As long as we could find a good place to risk from, that made sense. So we can see that the daily is also looking pretty bullish. So we can see that the stock was basically underneath VWAP all day today, confirming that it's bearish. When you have a stock floating underneath VWAP most of the day, it's mostly bearish. But once it broke above VWAP here, you can see that the trend and momentum kind of changed. And you can see this is what we talked about in previous videos. This is a bullish indication right here is what you call a reclaim. So you can see the stock was floating underneath this yellow line all day, popped up above it, and then we reclaimed that yellow line. And you can see how it broke above it, and then it reclaimed it. Okay, and then once we reclaimed it here, you can see that it had a nice little spike through 550. And that's basically shorts probably covering out because they're sensing the trend shift, and they want to get out before it goes crazy. So once we saw this, we already had it on watch because of the potential of reward here. So once we saw this spike here in price, we wanted to keep an extra eye on it, and that's about the time when I put out. Let's see, I put this out. It was about 12 o'clock. So right around here, I saw it flagging. So we reclaimed here. And then we popped up and we were still holding the 9 EMA on the 5. And we were still holding the VWAP reclaim. And so I figured that if we broke above this high, this level here and this level here, we'd get into this area of open space here. And once we got to that area of open space, the next resistance is until 90s. So that would be our target. So about that time, I put out this call. CYRN is interesting through high of day, or $6. Okay, and that was at 12 o'clock. So high day was right here, that level, and then $6 was the other level. And I was interested in getting involved for the break and the test of the 690s. And you can see here, once we broke that 585 level, we immediately squeezed up and broke 6, which was also that other level, which put us into that window that I was talking about. And that was a nice little trade. Basically, what happened was, I can show you the executions here. So we bought in through this level here, and we sold up into the pop there, and the risk was only about 20 cents or so. I want to say, yeah. So I got in at I had about a 590 average, and I was risking about 20 cents. So up here, oops. Yeah. So we were risking right below the support here. At the 570s, and we got the 90s, and our anticipated target was the 690s, $7 area. So on about 20 cents risk, our first target was going to be about 40 cents, right? So that's exactly what we did. We had about a 590 average, and we started selling 2R at 630s, and then an additional 20 cents, which would have been 4R into the 50s there. I'm sorry, another 3R into the 250s there. And so, yeah, we got some 2R sales, some 3R sales on some shares, and then we just sold the rest. I sold the rest at the close here. I didn't want to hold any overnight. So we had about a 2.5R sell average on that one as well. So in this day ended up being about a 5R day, which is spectacular in the trading world. I mean, if you can average one 5R trade a week, or one 5R day a week, then you're doing pretty good. So that was the trade on CYRN. You can see here when we got our signal, it was not extended intraday. We were touching the hourly. The 5 was decent. It was a bit extended. The 15 was it was good. It opened up above the 9, which was kind of scary, but the reward made so much sense on this one that I was willing to take it. Willing to alert it. And so that was that trade. Here's a little breakdown of what we were looking at. You can see we alerted it here around this dip at 12, and we kind of walked through some sells. And yeah, so that was the trade on CYRN, and the explanations behind it, the reclaim behind it, the bullish indications behind it, and how much time? Oh wow, we've already been talking for 20 minutes. Holy crap. Anyway, I'm just gonna wrap that up there, guys. Those were the two trades we took today, the short and the long. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I don't want to go on too long. I'll be rambling. I'm gonna create another one in regards to RMED. And so guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe, comment any questions below, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See you in the next one.